Trump's decisive victory in the United States as he makes a dramatic comeback as the 47th president. While he got past the 270 votes needed in the Electoral College comfortably, he also took with him the popular vote and got over 51% of the votes polled. He was quick to declare victory and thanked the American voters and declared a golden age for his country. Republicans have also won control of the US Senate, boosting the presidential victory and the president-elect's power. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was one of the first international leaders who congratulated President Trump, and in a post on X, he said, and I quote, "Heartiest congratulations to my friend at Real Donald Trump on your historic election victory. As you build on your successes of your previous term, I look forward to renewing our collaboration to further strengthen the India-US comprehensive global strategic partnership. Together, let's work for the betterment of our people and to promote global peace, stability and prosperity." Several global leaders have also congratulated the president-elect. Chairman of the Adani Group, Gautam Adani, also in a rare and emphatic tweet says, "If there is one person on earth who stands as the embodiment of unbreakable tenacity, unshakable grit, relentless determination and courage to stay true to his beliefs, it is Donald Trump. Fascinating to see America's democracy empower its people and uphold the nation's founding principles." Congratulations to the 47th POTUS-elect at Real Donald Trump. Let's listen in to the man who will be at the helm in Washington, D.C.
These are our friends. We have thousands of friends in this incredible movement. This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country and maybe beyond. And now it's going to reach a new level of importance because we're going to help our country heal. We're going to help our country heal. We have a country and it needs help very badly. We're going to fix our borders. We're going to fix everything about our country. And we made history for a reason tonight, and the reason is going to be just that. We overcame obstacles that nobody thought possible, and it is now clear that we've achieved the most incredible political thing. Look what happened. Is this crazy?
President Trump may be more articulate and expressive in that regard, but the reality is, after all, it was President Biden who, for example, withdrew from Afghanistan. It was President Obama who said that, he would be very cautious about committing American troops to any future conflict.
What does Trump's win mean for India and to India's startup tech ecosystem, remember, which is heavily connected to the United States, both in terms of businesses and people ties and also psychologically? Joining me, some fine Bengalurian startup voices who, if I can say, dare say in jest, follow the US elections and the Bay Area closer than the realities of Baitra and Pura in Bengaluru, where many of them live. Well, we hope to be joined in a bit by Madan Padaki of Thai Bengaluru, but Shrikant Iyer, CEO of Home Lane, and Geeta Ramanan, CEO and co-founder of Design Cafe, join us here on the show for the moment. Shrikant Iyer, most of you have lived several years in the United States, perhaps relate very closely to that country there. What does this really mean, both from a business point of view as well as to the startup psyche and ecosystem here in Bengaluru and perhaps in the rest of India?
Hey, thanks for having me on the show, Veera. Always glad to be here. By the way, I've never lived in the US, only visited it, thankfully. So I've kind of saved myself. But to answer your question, I think it's going to be a mixed bag for Indians and startups in particular. As you probably know, the markets are already on the upswing and they have reacted very positively to Trump winning. So that's a big positive. I also see a lot of positives on the manufacturing side in case Trump acts a little more decisively against China. and kind of tries to clip its wings as far as manufacturing is concerned. We may benefit out of that in a few sectors, clearly. Chemicals is one, defense definitely, and maybe a few like that. The other one that I've been seeing, which is maybe not so much noticed, is in the last few hours, the cryptocurrencies have gone through the roof. That's again because Trump has been very strongly supporting that, and I think he may definitely act in favor of that. Yeah, there are some negatives, but yeah, like for example, he's definitely going to be take a protectionist stance. He has no choice because that's been his main election agenda, which is to keep American borders safe, so to speak. So he's going to be very conservative on that. And that is going to probably affect H-1B denial rates, maybe go up. Maybe unfortunate, but I think that's probably one implication. So yeah, those were some of the implications that came to my mind.
Right, that's very important point that you're making there. Madan Padaki, I believe, is with us right now, who is part of TIE Bengaluru, which is a global network of for the startup community. In fact, working towards having a huge conference here in Bengaluru as well. Madan, I believe we've lost the connection to Madan. We'll try and get back to Madan in a bit. But Geeta, is there a sense of disappointment that the US lost its chance to have its first Madam President from the way you see it? And from the entire ecosystem point of view, what are your thoughts? Geeta, you're on mute. You'll have to unmute yourself, Geeta.
Got it. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me here. To be honest, I don't think a lot of us were convinced that the people in the US were ready to have their first woman premier. There are so many more aspects at play, right? So more of a reality check from that point of view. But I think one of the pieces that with Trump coming back from a startup ecosystem, Trump is very vocal about being business first, about being very pro-business, right? And we are really, at least the sentiment around a lot of founders, a lot of entrepreneurs is around if that will actually unlock a lot of the regulatory work a lot of the regulatory framework that has actually kind of got choked up a bit, whether it actually reflects all the way into the startup winter that we've been having, the funding winter, is something that we'll have to see. But typically, his pro-business stance, we're all looking forward to seeing if that eases up from the VC economy, the ecosystem, all the way through trickling down to the tech ecosystem here in India, as a reflection of what happens at the Silicon Valley is one thing that I think we all have something to look forward to. Srikanth was just mentioning about Trump's also China plus one strategy, right? Which with the America First piece and to reduce the reliance on China, at least from a short term, there are several founders I know who are looking forward to the kind of opportunities that should come their way, especially in the manufacturing sector. A lot more also in the chemical sector, but it's not an area of my own expertise, but it is definitely something we have been having a lot of conversations about. One other contrarian...
So all kinds of conversations going on in the startup section. What you're saying, important points that you guys are raising in terms of sectors as well. We'll have deeper debates, but largely to understand the psyche, Madan, I believe we can get through to you as well. How much of an impact does it actually make? How much of a difference does it actually make? What are perhaps areas of concerns and areas where there's optimism based on the results that we've seen today?
Thank you, Veera. Glad to be here. See, my sense is that, well, there are pros and cons. I believe that India is too large to be ignored. And everybody has to join the party here, the entrepreneurship party, the surge that we are seeing in entrepreneurship that's happening here in this part of the world cannot be ignored by any administration. When I was in the US a couple of months ago, meeting with a variety of our Thai chapters across, the interest that US has in India is only increasing. There's so much of conversations happening around on the Indo-US corridor. I think, I would say any administration will only ignore this energy at its own peril. My sense is that with Trump, who's been pro-business, to Shrikant's point as well, I think we will see an upsurge in activity. In fact, in 30 days from now, we are hosting the Thai Global Summit. And the amount of interest that we've got from chapters and entrepreneurs and investors from the US to come into Bangalore to interact with our entrepreneurs to understand what's happening here has been quite palpable. And I am continue to be super excited about the possibilities along this corridor.
Right. When you say that, Madan, because Shrikant at the outset, sort of flagged the potential protectionist worries as well. Given the global economic situation, and first to you, Shrikant, given the global economic situation, what would be the key markers that you would look at in terms of policy from the US? Some things that, from India, from the startup ecosystem in India for venture capitalists who are potentially looking at investments from the US, what would be the key markers that they would be looking at in the next, let's say, coming weeks?
So I think that the inflow into India is going to be less restricted, frankly. I am actually, the only thing I'm worried about is Trump's policy towards people coming into the US and working there. So that protectionist policy is something that he's very openly stated, and knowing and having seen Trump over the last term, he has no choice but to follow up. I would even go to say that has been his main election agenda this time. So he has no way of backing off from that. And knowing him, he will not back off also. So I think that is the big worry. After all, IT and IT services are a big part of our export revenue that we get from the US. And if things were to roll back in terms of H-1Bs and some of the other visa categories where denials are going to go up, then that can affect revenues to some extent. So that's my biggest worry.
So that's a key area.
Everything else is okay. That's the key area according to me.
That's a key area that you're looking at. Just to lighten the conversation a bit, Madan, when I started, I said perhaps the resonance and connection with Bay Area is much more than Baitrayanpura for the Bengalurian startup thing. Is that still a reality, or is the US election just an academic pursuit for those here? First to you and then to Geeta. Very quickly, has that psyche changed? Is that an old stereotype that we think of, or is it real?
No, I think it is changing, Veera. Of course, there's a huge amount of engagement still happening with the Bay Area and Bengaluru. But I would think that, especially with what I call as democratization of entrepreneurship and technology happening in Bengaluru and in India, I think we are seeing a lot more startups that are trying to solve more of the local problems and building products from here that can take any shape and form in the global south, right, as an overarching direction that I'm seeing. So while US will continue to play and the Bay Area Bangalore corridor will continue to play a significant role, I see that we are not going to be over dependent on that, but we're going to see a lot of strengthening of the entrepreneurial ecosystem here rather than just be dependent only on the US.
Okay. From Baitrayanpura to Bay Area. Geeta, your last, give you the final word on this. What's something that you would look at very closely now in the next coming weeks?
Right. So I think actually it's not just an academic interest, right? A lot of larger trends in the US do play out here and are reflected very closely in the startup ecosystem. Like a couple of us were actually joking that and we're seeing that, the H-1B visas the numbers would come down quite dramatically. It might just mean that we have access to a lot more top-tier tech talent here for us to build out for the world, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, I think we have made great strides in the last couple of decades. India is too large to really ignore or to be shut out, and neither will we be. India is ready to take on its share of, what we need to do at a global stage, and too big to ignore, really. So I think it's what we're going to make out of it. There are going to be both challenges and opportunities. And today's entrepreneurs are, I think, not just excited, but then waiting for every aspect that could come their way.
Right. That's interesting that you say that. The many US citizens as well, remember, in cities like Bengaluru and Chennai, who've cast their vote through ballots for these elections. We'll keep a close watch on how that presidency evolves over the next few weeks, next few months, and then we'll look at how the startup ecosystem as well reacts to several of the things that are coming up. But thanks to all three of you for joining in on this conversation. Of course, we'll have our special focus on the finer points and the political details of that enormous verdict in the United States. That's all we have time for on the Southern View this evening. News and updates continue right here on NDTV. Thanks for watching.